Here we have verse 50 of the 6th chapter of the Gospel of John. We're in the midst of the so-called Bread of Life discourse, in which Jesus is contrasting himself to the manna that had been given by God through Moses to the children of Israel as they were 40 years in the wilderness. And of course the crowd here is in a sense wanting Jesus to duplicate or even improve on the miracle that had been performed by Moses, but Jesus of course is greatly exceeding anything that they're requesting, although it's not likely they quite grasped it, at least at the first instance. But he points out to them that the bread that was provided by Moses, while it certainly sustained them for a time, nevertheless did not sustain them forever. They eventually died in the wilderness in spite of receiving this heavenly food. And now Jesus, in sharp contrast to that, says that he is offering them something vastly better. In terms of this new manna, this new bread that comes down out of heaven, he makes this comment, hutos, this is the demonstrative pronoun, masculine, singular, nominative, this, esten, the word from eimi, I am, third person singular, present active indicative. It's enclitic, and so an accent is added to the final syllable of the preceding word. So hutos esten, this is. Predicate nominative then, esten takes the nominative, so this is ho artos, the bread. The article is the masculine singular nominative to go along with artos, bread. This is the bread. Ho, then of course, the bread, the coming down bread. This is the idiomatic way in which the participle is used in Greek. So this is the bread, the coming down, katabainon. From katabaino, I go down. This is a masculine singular nominative, present active participle. So this is the coming down, and then ek, out of, takes the genitive to, the, orinu, heaven. This is the bread, the coming down out of heaven bread. And of course that's a common way in which the participle is used. So this is the bread, the coming down out of heaven bread, Jesus referring of course to himself and giving this additional comment, hina, in order that, or that, takes the subjunctive. We have a subjunctive here and a subjunctive there. And so in order that, and then this is the third person singular, aorist active subjunctive, and it has to do with may eat, to eat, and then this is the third person singular, aorist active subjunctive of apothnesko, to die, in order that a person may eat and not die. The tis here is an indefinite pronoun, so anyone, or in order that someone or anyone, eggs, the preposition ek, it becomes a gz here before the article, so, or I should say before the vowel. So if anyone eats of it, anyone eats of it, and will not die. So this is the bread that comes down out of heaven, such that anyone of it may eat, and as a result of that may not die. This is the sweeping promise that we have in the New Testament, Jesus offering himself as bread, offering himself as the one to be eaten, whose blood is to be drunk, as he will go ahead and say a little later in this same discussion. And of course we understand these are sacramental references, although the original audience may not have quite caught the nuance of this, but nevertheless it is the great truth of the Christian affirmation that those who participate in Christ, those who come to him, who eat sacramentally his flesh and drink his blood, who take his life into them, never face the prospect of death. There may be that slight transition that takes place at the end of life when we move from one place to the next, but it's not the dread that is normally accompanied with death. There is a kind of triumphant, glorious anticipation, really, of death, as Paul himself makes clear to the Philippians and elsewhere. Death, where's your sting, he says to the Corinthians. Grave, where's your victory? This is really the heart of the reason that Christian people look with a certain degree of disdain on death, because this great promise was provided to them by Jesus.